shit. Oh, yeah. Just watching me some WW2 airplane rubber banders clips. Ba 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 ba. Da 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 da. Ba da ba da ba da ba da ba da. It's bad enough when the weapons sound like that, da 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 da, but when they sound like this, push 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 push, that's worse. I made that up. Seems legit though. That's the kind of round that one, round destroys the whole airplane, airframe, But anyway. Oh shit. Fuck. I got some work to do. I got my truck stuck out here. I got it unstuck. I tried to get it unstuck myself, but I couldn't do it. And I don't know my neighbors well enough, to rustle up a tractor and shit. And I had to pay $750 out of pocket to have a tow truck come do some shit. It's really sandy out here. I need and soft dirt. So I'm thinking I'm gonna get like some rock that keeps banks from washing away and shit, as opposed to recycled asphalt. Because the truck works fine, out here in the recycled asphalt, but even then it's still kind of soft. If it breaks and the tires start to spin, there's not much hope for you. So instead of recycled asphalt, I think I'm going to use 4 to 6 inch, I'm not even sure what it's called, but like retention rock or something like that. Because I don't think that'll, it'll just work better. And I can come up here and kind of back it down and do some stuff. And I tried to maneuver it as best I could, but I didn't quite have the fucking room. And like I said, it's an automatic, so you got to let it go into gear and then brrr and kind of start going, versus, kind of lightly slipping the clutch and all that. And if I would turn my tires too sharp, they'd dig down and just blah, blah, blah. So, that was humbling, but it worked out. Because I kind of had to drag my truck sideways, and I thought maybe I was going to lose some plastic side fairings, and it started to scrape the valve on the air tanks, but it was just the valve being scraped by the dirt. So I thought, I was going to get fucked up, in trouble, and they wouldn't let me park my truck out here no more, and it worked out. So, and I should have known better, and it's really no excuse. I got to do everything the hard way, But, and I'm going to widen the culvert, and, I have a little bit more project to do, I've been calling around. It'll cost me anywhere from like $750 to, $1,000. I just, whatever, but it needs to be done sooner rather than later. Because right now it's manageable, barely. When I'm empty. Loaded really changes the game. So I need to, it's July. So if it rains out here in the winter, I need to get this place set up for a tractor trailer, because right now it is not. So now I can maneuver these things really, really well. I can stab one. I'll skip the details, but it's kind of like, I had to back the trailer down the driveway, and I had to keep my momentum going, and I had to stab that trailer in there and not, I had to follow it up, correctly, and not, so I didn't cut it too tight or too wide. I mean, I really had to keep them tires, you know, on the good road and not hit these, you know, reflective poles that are out on the road and the shared drive. And my little spigot, you know, and I'll skip the details. You know, in theory, I had, you know, a good idea, because I mean this humbly, but it might take me some time, you know, of inching shit back and forth, but, you know, there's a way to maneuver trailers and tractor trailers and, you know, be it a pickup with a gooseneck or a bumper pole or a tractor trailer with a 50-foot trailer. You know, you do like these S-turns, you know, and you can kind of scoot things over sideways, and it might take a minute, you know what I mean? But you can position, you know, a tractor trailer if you know what you're doing, and I can do that. But you know, the dirt is just soft. You know, like I couldn't do what I wanted to do, and I thought maybe I didn't have room, you know, but I figured that's fine, you know, I'll just start over. And I tried a couple different things. I tried 2 different things, those didn't work, and I finally, you know, did this third option, and I got it up here, you know, so I can get it out. I just need to get this place set up for a tractor trailer, because it's soft, you know, and even with like a standard, if you had a stick shift with a clutch, you know, you can break drive lines, and you know, it's hard on transmissions and stuff when the tires start to spin and bounce and jerk and pop. But automatics just quick. You know, it's like you can't even, you know what I mean? The sensors realize that you're stuck, and it's just like blah, you're done. So yeah. Hey, these automatics still have 12 gears, by the way, for anybody who's like, blah, blah. And it's a dry clutch. The brake is actually like a clutch. So when you let off the brake, it kind of slips, you know, and it starts to go, you know, and whatever. But so you want to be careful with your brakes, because, you know, you're basically, it's not only a brake, but it's a clutch. So, you know, you're slipping it, releasing it, and compressing it, and it can get hot, and it'll give you a warning, because it's happened to me before, just once. It was at this store where it's like this fucking crazy ass steep incline. But anyway, I'll skip the details. And I drove through Chicago Heights, and instead of cutting up from State Highway 30 on Highway 65, I thought I was far enough south where I'd be safe, you know. And I'm not using a trucker's GPS right now. I'm just using regular and matching it with the trucker's atlas. And it's like, okay, well, this looks like a nice big road, but I should have went up I-65. I was trying to avoid a little bit of toll, but mistake. I came across a bridge that was 13.6. But frequently those are wrong, so I went under it really slow with my flashers on, so if I felt and heard something scrape, I could back out of there and, you know, use that intersection and get turned around, and, you know, people probably honk at me and shit. But like I said, you know, I've been driving long enough, and just even when I first started driving, you know, I was pulling trailers and stuff when I was 16 and whatnot, and before that, working on farms and ranches and whatnot. So I do mean this humbly, but yes, I can maneuver a trailer pretty fucking well, you know. But every now and then you still have your moments. You get lazy, you're in a you don't set up properly, you're at a truck stop, and, you know, some fuck, you know, is parked crooked or parked too far out, you know, and you got your tandem slid all the way up, you know. So you know, you got that overhang to deal with. If you got them all the way back, you don't have any overhang, but, you know, you got the whole damn trailer, you know, so you're maneuvering your tractors out there farther. So the Goldilocks zone is, you know, about the 4th or 5th hole back, which doesn't mean anything to anybody who's not a trucker. But basically, you know, that's kind of, you know, you've still got overhang, but it's not absurd, on your trailer. But the tandems are far enough forward, so if you're at a truck stop, you can manage, And my general rule of thumb is if I can get it in that spot with doing one minimum pull-up, where I might have to pull forward a little bit and then crank the wheels and follow it up and get under it a little bit. When I say get under it, you don't know what I mean, but I do, and that's all that matters. Then that's a win in my book. One pull-up and a minor pull-up. It's not like I have to totally reposition or anything like that, but sometimes I can get it in there in one shot, Then I might have to, do a snake, zigzag to center it, and whatever, but delivered to Walmart today, yeah. I recognize the guards there. It's kind of weird driving there, looking over like where the trucks, fuel and, the wash bay and all that. Thinking, yep, that was the end of week process. You fueled the truck, vacuumed it, wiped down the dash and the inside of the windows, topped off all the fluids, and then emptied your shit. You didn't get to keep your truck. I do like that about this company. So, yeah. It's kind of, it's easier in the sense that, you're trucking, it's a long haul. So it's not, out and back, out and back, out and back. I guess to each their own, but maybe it's because I did long haul, for this company before I went to work for Walmart. So that whole, a day out and a day back, and especially kind of towards the end of the week, you'd get like short little, down to a 40 mile down and back, and then a 200 mile down and back, and just, I don't know. And driving in Denver traffic is like blah. So it has its pros and cons, But yeah, that was kind of weird. I was gonna prank call Mrs. Poop Emoji, but I wasn't sure if she was there because it's the 4th of July holiday. And if she wasn't there, because I don't remember the direct number to that board, that window. So, I'd have to call dispatch and be like, is Poop Emoji there? And they'd be like, may I ask who's calling? Like, this is Fred, her, iguana trainer, or something, This is, I don't know, I'd think of something, This is Dawn from the pet shop. I don't know. Pet shop. But, so I'll catch her next time, because that's usually the load that was always getting me back, so that'll probably be pretty common. So if she's a secret fan, and I don't know why she would be still, then the gig is up. Expect a prank call next time I'm there, but she only works Saturdays, Sundays, and Mondays, so it would have to, time it just right. I should have done it anyway. And then somebody, they would have told her, well, maybe not. Somebody called for you. They said their name was, come up with a weird name, like this is Frickleword, from the, I don't know. Candle shop? Fuck, I don't know. Just fucking. But whatever. I probably couldn't go over there because I'd have to walk in. Well, if I did that, if I just took it upon myself to park and walk over there, out of not in my Walmart uniform, I could just walk down that hallway like I own the fucking place. Walk through that door, walk up them steps, walk up. She'd be all surprised, like, "Huh, are you back?" Nope. I'm here, but I'm not back. But then one of the managers might be there and be like, are you don't work here, or you can't be up here, you know, and it might go south, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, I'd just walk up there, you know, in my typical fashion and just be like, I delivered here. Figured you'd come on and say hi. And then just turn around and walk away. Because that's how I roll. So, she'd be like, that was weird. And like I said, I didn't have a crush on her or anything. She wasn't really attractive. She's probably cute as hell when she was younger, but anyway. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, they didn't say anything. The one chick, her name was Andrea, I just happened to remember. She's like, you been here before? I'm like, yeah, I've been here before. No, I didn't say that. What I actually said was something like, well, we'll just say no. Not as an outside carrier, which I have, but, you know, it's like, well, it was like 7 fucking years ago, you know, so, you know, the game may have changed, but, okay, drop it here. Here's the empties, you know, just needed to quickly scan, you know, they have a map, and I'm like, I don't need no map. I just need a quick little glance. Oh, you want it in K1? Okay, I'll put it in K1. Yeah, I've dropped many a trailer there and picked up from there too. So that was kind of weird. They all fucking recognized me back at my work. So, a lot of them have left. Some of them are still there though. Anyway. Oh shit. Fuck a doodle doo. I don't know if I want to post all them videos I made. A lot of them are long-winded. Maybe I just don't care. Maybe I will. Oh, Katie Boo, we have 4 yards that we use across the country. One of them is in basically Commerce City, Colorado, Denver, kind of that area. The other one is in Kansas City. The other one is in Missouri. The main yard is actually in Granite City, but it's basically in Missouri. And they have a 4th one, like 20 miles north of Chicago. So, yeah, isn't that something? Like I said, we don't pick up and deliver in Chicago. And that doesn't hurt my feelings at all. But, you know, we picked up and delivered in Wisconsin, which means we drove through, you know, but like I said, this whole logistical issue of you having to come pick me up and stuff, you know, it's like maybe I can just take a cab or an Uber. You know, 20 miles, that's still pretty far though. You know, for a cab or an Uber. Probably pretty pricey, but you know, you can send one of your friends, preferably Little Miss can eat a potato whole, sideways. I wouldn't mind sitting in the car with her and talking to her. You know, be like, so tell me everything about your friend Katie Boo, my future wife. Not that I need to know a fucking thing from you, but go ahead and speak your mind. So, and like I said, you know, there'd be no bullshit. You might be a little like, oh, ooh, but I assure you, I'm going to walk into your condo or apartment or wherever. I'm going to kick off my shoes, sit in the recliner, rip a fart, and, you know, while you make me some iced tea. You know, so I'm just going to make myself right at home. I'll be respectful, of course, you know. When I say kick off my shoes, I'll kick them off, you know, at the door. You know, take stock, you know what I mean? When you walk in, you know, sight, sound, smells, you know, how things are arranged. You know, you just take it all in, you assess. You know, you want me to take my shoes off? Or, you know, just ask these things, you know. Or if you're big on that, you know, please take your shoes off. Okay. You know, or not, and you could, you know, say, want me to take my shoes off? No, you don't have to take your shoes off. Who do you? I'm not that type of girl. But just the fact that you asked, is like, oh wow, he pays attention to detail. He's considerate. He is in my place of, my home, whatever, be it your renter, whatever your situation is. Fucked over a man, who knows. But, just things like that. You do anything like you do everything. Oh, yeah. It's good to be working. Like I said, I want to put that little sign on my dash, second chance. Whatever little phrase I want to put on there, and I'll take it off when I turn it in for service. I'll just tape it on there, but, because I thought I was going to have to hit the pavement and find some other, fucking laborer job, or something, But no, we good. And this job has potential, you know what I mean? Like, it's not just, same hours, It's like, I can be proactive with my communication, and planning and all that stuff. My hours and, establish that I'm a dependable, responsible driver. I think I got just over 3,000 miles in like just over 3 weeks, so that's pretty good. But sometimes it's not up to you. Oh, I didn't drink enough water, so I kind of got the cramps. So I got to do that now. So that's pretty much all I got to say, sweet Katie Boo. If I wasn't a troll, did that sort of shit, and this wasn't complete and utter fucking bullshit, it's almost like the universe is saying, I don't care. Oh, you poor girl. You'll find you a wonder boy. Because I know I'm the boy of your dreams. And I am. I mean that humbly. I'm everything you could ever fucking possibly need, want, or desire. Things, like I said, I'd bring out things and thoughts and feelings and emotions in you that you didn't even know you had. I'd make you feel ways that you didn't know you could feel. Like your anxiety and all that stuff, Just one day you'd realize that you don't have anxiety anymore. And you haven't shifted it. Like I said, I would fix you, so it's not like you would become clingy to me and I'm the Band-Aid, as I said. No, I wouldn't, that whole frowny face shit and anxiety and what, you are strong, I hate everybody and these tears are real, that shit would just be like, blah, gone. And I mean that humbly. But I'm just a troll. I don't do shit like that, and this is all complete other fucking bullshit. So, unfortunately, you are going to have to find you a Band-Aid. And that might be a Band-Aid that you can have your whole life. But if you and I were to even just date, for like, even as little as 3 months, and then we parted ways, been nice knowing you, been nice fucking you, and rubbing my dick on you, and ejaculating all over you, and sharing a bed with you and just hanging out, the memories, the laughs, the tender moments, the cuddles, the ASMRs. But it's time for me to fuck off. And you'd be fixed. But like I said, I'm just a troll. I don't do that shit. This is complete and utter fucking bullshit. So bummer, because that would work out pretty damn good for the both of us, really. Now that I'm thinking about it, I guess there's no reason we couldn't do that. 20 miles, really isn't all that far. You know what I mean? Like, a place to, park the truck and trailer, it's our yard. You know what I mean? Huh. So, what kind of pantywears you got on right now? Huh. Now, remember, it's not just sexual shit. It's all the lovey-dovey shit, you know, it's the two human beings who care for each other and, you know, all that. Because I'm different, you know, I mean it humbly, but I'm kind of untouchable, you know what I mean? You're not going to fuck with me emotionally. You're not going to get under my skin, you know. It's like I'm disconnected, you know, I kind of live beside myself. So, and that goes for me and other people. You know, it's like, ah, you're a piece of shit. No, you're just a piece of shit. Everybody does, you know, they internalize the world, you know, the way that they do. And I don't know, it's kind of weird, you know. It's kind of like I've got well, it's like I used to say, what the hell, my lofty perch of self-appointed superiority. I used to say that, and it is kind of like that. And I mean that humbly, you know what I mean? But it's like, you ain't shit. You can be the most dramatic, unreasonable, like, I mentioned this a few times in my other audio presentations that, you know, my time out, there was two, like, encounters with people, you know, where it was like, you know, kind of a, but, you know, I kept my cool. There was no swears or anything like that. And, you know, I'm just sort of a matter of fact, you know, kind of guy when it comes to that stuff. I mean, I'm not a kiss ass, you know. Like this one broad, well, I don't want to get into it because then, I don't know, whatever. I'll probably just leave it at that. I don't really feel like uploading those pictures. But this one guy, you know, black guy with tattoos on his face, you know, and he was cool, you know. He's like, did you think it was your turn? And just like this, I'm like, yeah, it was my turn. Yeah, it was. Because he was like parked way down. He didn't even have his blinker on. So, I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, but I was cool, you know. I'm like, yeah, it was my turn. You didn't see me turning in there? No, I didn't. I saw you parked back there, you know, about 300 feet, but I didn't see you turning in here. So, you know, and this one fucking lowlife at Subway, you know, it was a broad. What I said, you know, like I said, I don't feel like getting into it, you know, but I did get kind of huffy puffy because she was one of these, you know, you know, so I was like, you know, but, excuse me, sir, the line starts over there. People are idiots. Has everything got to be dramatic with you? You know, fuck you. So anyway, there's my two little teasers, but I don't feel like explaining the whole damn thing. But yeah, there was two quote-unquote encounters with human beings, you know, and most people were like, well, what the hell? This is, yeah, oh, yeah. And then there's me. Oh, okay. Hey, whatever. Well, I'm sorry you feel that way. But anyway. Oh, shit. And this one guy, it was kind of weird. I accidentally opened the door a little bit into his car. And it was like an old pickup, right? And it's like, okay, my bad. Whoops, my bad. And this guy opens his door and he's all, excuse me, sir, you gonna apologize for hitting my truck? And he actually called me sir. And I walked up there and I was like, oh man, my bad, I didn't see you sitting up here. My bad, I need to be more careful. Sorry about that. You know, no harm, no foul, you know, no drama, nothing like that. But he also could have got out and be like, man, motherfucker, you should hit my fucking truck. You know, get down and look and be like, fucking look at that. You know, and it's like something that was already there. There's nothing even there. It's like, you gonna pay for that? You know? No? You thought, because you don't want to exchange insurance. You just want me to give you a couple $100, don't you? Yeah. That ain't gonna happen. You know, and then you have to be prepared, you know, for a fist fight, which could escalate to a shooting, you know. So, generally, human beings are bad. You know, nothing good really comes from them. I mean, that's not true. I mean, sometimes you need people. So, but you know what I mean? Just like when you go out in public, you know what I mean? I'm going to leave my safe space, you know, like this is my house. Well, it's like that saying that I came up with. I didn't hear that anywhere. Every day is an opportunity for something to go wrong. So every time I leave this house and I go out into the world, I have to interact with other human beings. You know, and it could go good, it could go bad. You know, I have some control over that, how I respond and, you know, stuff like that. Some things I don't have control of, you know, what they do and just how they are. Just, I mean, there are some fucking spurgs, you know, and just stupid people, you know, and hate whores and pricks and assholes. And like I said, out of 10 people, 2 to 3 are going to have something undesirable about them. It might be something as simple as they chew their gum loud, or it could be something, you know, more hardcore, you know, like they're one of these loony leftists, you know, who think America is the worst country in the world and it's nothing but a bunch of racists and shit like that. You know, you might encounter that piece of shit who's so full of hatred, you know, vitriolic disdain and hatred, you know, that she will conveniently forget to press enter, you know, on your form, you know, because she suspects that you're, you know, a Republican, you know. Or the you know, first responder who either didn't give you enough, you know, painkiller, or gave you too much, you know, anesthesia or whatever, and murdered you in cold blood under the eyes of God and the devil. But somehow they think that that's like, whoops. It's like, no whoops, no whoops. That's you. None of these people might know, but so anyway, I guess that's all I'll say. Bye-bye.